and teach. I'm really, I think, decent at taking a concept and boiling it down to its basics and then communicating those basics, but that doesn't really stick at all. To make a thing stick, you have to ideally tie a story to it, and that story becomes unforgettable. Your 4 steps are easily forgotten. The story that attaches to them is really hard to forget. Somebody that does this extremely well is Ken Blanchard. He's written a couple books that I'm a huge fan of. I literally finished this one this morning called Gung Ho. And one of my favorite all-time books by a mile is 1 Minute Manager. I took the dust jacket off so you can't see the title. And earlier this year, I finished the best how to tell a story book I've ever read called Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. Say all that to say, just finishing Gung Ho today. I've read lots of books on leadership over the last few months, and none of them have stuck and made the mental impactful change. Is that a thing? None of them have impacted me and stuck with me quite like Ken Blanchard's books, because they're all stories. They're really good. So I want to get better at that. So each morning, most days of the week, I'm going to start a Facebook Live, Twitter Live, whatever this is going on YouTube, and tell a story, and then teach a small lesson at the end that might be able to help you in marketing and leading your business. So story time for today. 7 years ago, I started my business, Growth Tools. At the time, it was called Video Fruit, and I had no idea what to do in order to get people on the internet to buy my stuff. So I just started reading everybody else's stuff online. I'd read Pat Flynn and Seth Godin and Gary Vee and every marketing guru that existed at the time. This is 2013, 14. And through that process, there was, I learned lots of things, some of which worked, many of which didn't work. So I would kind of go through the cycle of learning a thing that worked really well. So one of the first things I found that worked really well was writing long form blog posts that detailed out something I've done. I'd be like, great, that works. Let me keep that. Then I would start finding another thing. So over the time, those things that work start piling up to become like a pretty effective marketing stack. And this happens with leadership. This happens with spousal relationships and any relationship. Like you just find things that work. But here's the trick. Over the years, as you guess, test, and revise and cull out the stuff that doesn't work and keep the stuff that does, you start to lose packets along the way. You start to identify things that worked, and then you literally forget that they worked. And you forget about the thing altogether. So I'm trying to think of a quick example of this. I guess in marriage, we had this happen last year. Our number one goal in our life last year for me and my wife was to have her best year of marriage ever. The previous year in 2019 had been really hard. We had a new kid, and my wife had a bunch of health issues and autoimmune disorder that got diagnosed, multiple autoimmune things. It totally blew up diet and exercise. It was just a mess of a year. So we entered 2020 saying, man, we want this to make this the best year of marriage we've ever had. So we went on a marriage counseling tour. Went to and asked all our friends, hey, what's the best marriage counselor you've ever been to? And went to all of them and found one that worked really well. And his name was Glenn. And Glenn taught us a set of tools for communicating and processing a tough relational loops with, or places we got stuck with that were recurring in order to get out of them really quickly. And it worked great. Last year was our best year of marriage ever. Here's the funny part. So we found a thing that worked, found a bunch of his stuff. Several of his things that he taught, like we'd modify or adapt to us, but we found like a core thing that worked really well, led us to our best year of marriage ever, the best growth we've ever had in our relationship ever. And then over the last 3 or 4 months, we kind of just stopped doing it. We kind of stopped doing the daily ritual he basically taught us how to do and empowered us to do. We literally just stopped doing it. Why? I don't know. Couldn't really tell you. Like we didn't consciously stop doing it. We just stopped doing it. So we literally spent a ton of time, a ton of money, identified a thing, made it the core focus of an entire year, found the gold nugget, installed the gold nugget. The gold nugget worked. And then we just kind of forgot about the gold nugget. So here's the application. Here's the big aha moment I had. Once we identified that we had a thing that worked that we stopped doing, we started doing it again. And guess what? It still works. It's still a piece of gold. Here's the application for your business. Marketing 101. Every time a client hires us to coach them, Emily, it is right. Very true. All over life, all the time. Every time a client hires us to coach them on growing their business, the very first thing I do when we get there, when we do a big assessment, big 360 assessment of their entire business, get a snapshot of exactly what's going on. The very first thing we do, that I do, is look for not new things, but old things. Not new things to do, but old things to do. Literally, the first question I ask is, what have you stopped doing that was working? And there's always something. There's always something that was working that just kind of got forgot for no good reason. Maybe there was a reason at the time, but maybe we forgot the reason. So let me share an example of this for you. Let me do it this way. Here's the lesson. Do more of what works. Super simple. Almost no one does it. That means when you find a thing that works, you make it nearly impossible to stop it. Make a doc that's literally called Things That Work, and review it weekly, review it monthly, review it quarterly. Look at the things that have dropped since the last time you reviewed and be like, why did we stop doing that? We should probably start doing that again. And look for those. So do more of what works. Here's a couple questions you can ask yourself. And I'm going to give an example in our business. I did a do more of what works evaluation last week for a reason I'll tell you here in a minute. And I found a couple things. I want to share those with you as a way of example of how you can apply this in your business. So a couple questions you can ask to pull out things that used to work, like to find your innovation and find the thing that's going to help you go to the next level by not looking forward, but looking backwards. So a couple questions. Number one, what was one of the most effective things that I was doing a year ago? Look back a year ago, look at your calendar, look at your emails, look at your text messages, look at your pictures in your phone. Literally Google, like type into your phone, January 20, or no, I guess we're in February now, February 2020, February 2019. Look at the picture. See if that'll jog your memory. What were you doing a year ago? Look at your calendars. Zoom all the way back in your calendar. What was on your calendar a year ago? Look back in your emails. What emails were you sending a year ago? Does that spark any ideas of things that was working that you just stopped doing? So I did that. Let me see if I can share my screen. So, okay. So I went back to, we keep an email dashboard with all the emails that we send out as a company. So I just literally last week, our director of marketing left. He found a better opportunity for him. So I'm the interim director of marketing while we launch a new search for a long-term director of marketing. So just one of the things I've enjoyed the process of just like full audit of the marketing department, digging into the weeds there. That's kind of my skill set. So it's been very fun for me. Literally one of the first questions I had is, what used to work that we stopped doing? I had some weird thing pop up on my screen. Hopefully that didn't interrupt. And I just went back to our email dashboard and looked for what were the most effective emails that we sent out in the last year. And this is one I found. Literally, it was from 364 days ago. I sent it. I didn't send it. I don't even know particularly if I wrote this. I don't remember. It's been a year ago. Several of us write emails that we send out. So this is February 3rd, 2020. This email produced $50,000 in sales. Today is February 3rd, and we're 11 months left in the year. What are you going to do with your 11 months? Last year, I worked with a trainer. Let me zoom into this so you can see it as well. Feel free to comment as well. Let me know. Last year, I worked with a trainer at my gym to create a plan of attack to cut my weight to 192 pounds by the end of the year. We focused on having a simple plan of attack and consistent daily action. It was amazing how empowering and exciting. The end of it is to schedule a conversation with us if you want to talk with us about creating a plan for you to grow your business and then coaching you through and holding you accountable to that. This email just worked really well. So literally, last week we're having a marketing conversation about what's a campaign we can run in the month of February. And I was like, let's look and see what happened last February. Was last February good? Turns out it was a great month. What emails did we send that worked? This is the best email we sent of the whole month. So what could we do this week to improve our marketing and sales? We literally can look backwards, find what worked, maybe make some slight adjustments to it, and send it. So yeah, it's a story. It worked really well. Another thing I did when I was asking the question of like what worked a year ago is about 8 months ago, COVID hit. And I wrote 2 emails at the start of COVID, March 17th and March 19th. This is like right as COVID's hitting last year. That just worked well. It started about a 60-day run of our hottest 60 days in company history. And what I found was the way I just kind of naturally was talking at the time was to a current event. And we created a special package promotion kind of thing around our product as it related to that event. So 2 ways you can respond as a COVID business owner. You can play offense or defense. And I will go on and on and on. Kind of a rally call of like, get off your butt, stop playing victim, even if you are a victim, and let's go. Like infusing energy into the situation where energy was being sucked out of the room. And then 2 days later, we created a specific package of our product around COVID. none of this was really new stuff. We just like talked about it, made some slight adjustments to it based on the event that was going on at the time of COVID. So here's how to work. We get a one-on-one call with me to kick things off. We get a detailed audit of your situation. We get a custom marketing plan to get past COVID-19 and thrive, and a Voxer group with 15 other business owners. This is actually the new thing we threw in just to see how it would work, and now it's a core part of our entire product offering. So there was a current event, and we built an entire promotion package around that event and tied the messaging all in and told a story around it. So guess what we're doing this week in the month of February as well? We're doing the exact same thing. So last month, our best email we sent out was talking about Facebook ads. It was talking about a big iOS 14 upgrade that's happening. Maybe it's happened. I don't know. It's coming soon. And it basically will make Facebook ads really much harder and different to do. Big risk factors being introduced into every Facebook ad funnel very soon due to the amount of tracking you're able to not do now. And so that's going to throw a bunch of geeks into things. So we sent out a little bit we fired a bullet a few weeks ago seeing like, all right, if we talk about that current event, does that pop? Turns out, yes, it does. We've sold $100,000 from this email talking about throwing a bullet at that current event and building a custom offer around that. Or not even building a custom offer, just talking about that event and then tying our methodology into how that basically takes all your risk out of it. Facebook ads are built on somebody else's platform. Our number one marketing method, borrowing other people's audiences, the OPA method is what we call it, requires no other platform at all. Simply requires you doing the thing you're great at, which is teaching. And we're going to get you in front of other audiences. You get to teach them and sell your product to them. So we outline all that in the email, and it worked really well. This email we've sent it to different segments. We've sent it to the whole list. It keeps crushing. So one of the things that'd be very smart to do for the month of February, combine these things. Combine this new year action plan, create a plan of attack approach with a current event, and build a special package around it. So guess what we're doing for the month of February? We're doing that. So I went way into the weeds there as a method of giving you an example. Here's the big aha for today. And let me switch back over to camera here. Here's big aha for you. The thing that will take you to the next level might not be a new thing. It might actually be something in the past. It might not be about looking forward. It might be looking in the past. Here's a key question you can ask yourself. Like, what was I doing a year ago that was working really well? And try to look beyond the surface. It'd be really easy to look at that email that worked and say, oh, I just need to send that email again. But that wasn't the magic of what was making that work. The magic of that was a current event tied into a specific offer. So for us, can we piggyback on a current event that's happening right now and tie it into a specific offer? Absolutely. A couple other questions you can ask yourself. If I cut everything else I'm doing right now and only kept two things, what would I keep doing? That's probably the stuff that's working really well. Two other questions to kind of prime you. What does the data say is the most effective thing I'm doing? And what does my gut say is the most effective thing I'm doing? Ask yourself those questions. What was the most effective thing I was doing a year ago? What does the data say is the most effective thing? What does my gut say is the most effective thing? And make it a point to not forget the gold nuggets. Don't forget when you take all the time and spend all the energy to learn those lessons. Don't forget the lesson. Don't forget the thing that worked. Try to repeat it and scale it until it will not scale anymore, and then bring in something else. I see way too many times people like making great progress with borrowing other people's audiences, making great progress with their leadership style or whatever the thing is they're working on. And then we check in a year later or something as a friend or something, ask them like, hey, how's that going? They're like, oh yeah, we just kind of stopped that. I'm like, oh, did it stop working? They're like, no, it actually is working, but we found this other thing. No. Do more of what works until it doesn't work. And then you can bring on another thing. You don't need 3 marketing channels to get you to $1 million a year. You don't need Facebook ads to get you $1 million a year. You don't need SEO to get you $1 million a year if you're a course creator or coach. All you need to do is teach one new audience a week. Literally, that's it on the marketing and sales side. If you do that, that'll take care of itself. Go focus on product and make it an amazing product at that point. So here's the big aha for today, the big takeaway. Do more of what works. Find out what that stuff was that was working that you've forgotten about by asking yourself 3 questions. What was I doing a year ago? That'll help jog your memory. What does the data say was working a year ago? What does my gut say was working? And go do that. Go find the thing that was working that you forgot and do more of it. Don't leave that lesson in the dust. Don't leave that gold nugget in the dust. Make sure you bake it into everything you do and make sure you do not forget it. I know that's a commitment I have for the month of February, and I'll leave you with that lesson today. So we'll see you tomorrow for Storytime with Brian. Look forward to seeing you and hanging out.